Tom Harris was tired. Not the kind of tired where you need a coffee, but the deep in your bones tired that comes from working the night shift for 3 years straight. He pushed his cleaning cart down the corridor of Zenith 7 station, the wheels squeaking in that annoying way they always did. He'd asked maintenance to fix it twice. They never did. The station was quiet at this hour. Most of the alien diplomats and traders were asleep, or whatever their species did instead of sleeping. Tom had learned not to ask too many questions. He just cleaned their spaces, collected his paycheck, and minded his own business. That's how you survived out here on the edge of civilized space. His supervisor's voice crackled through his earpiece. Harris, got a last-minute addition to your route. The Valeran Memorial Temple needs a deep clean. Some big-shot council members are visiting tomorrow for an inspection. Tom sighed. Great. More work. Which section? The public viewing gallery. I'm sending you the access code now. His datapad beeped. Tom glanced at the code, a string of numbers and symbols that looked like every other access code he'd memorized over the years. He'd been to the temple once before, months ago. Quick dust and mop job in the entrance area. Easy enough. The temple sat at the far end of the diplomatic quarter, separated from everything else. The Valerans had been gone for 15,000 years, but the council maintained their stuff like it was yesterday. Tom understood it, kind of. Respecting the dead and all that. Even if those dead were ancient aliens nobody remembered much about. He punched in the code. The door hissed open. Tom stepped inside and immediately knew something was wrong. This wasn't the viewing gallery. The room was massive, way bigger than the little entrance chamber he'd cleaned before. The ceiling stretched up so high he couldn't see the top. And the floor was covered in patterns. Circles within circles, geometric shapes that seemed to shift when he looked at them too long, and symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. Well, this is different, he muttered. He should have backed out right then. Called his supervisor, reported the error, let someone else deal with it. But Tom had been a janitor for 20 years, 12 on Earth, 3 here on the station, and 5 on a colony ship before that. He took pride in his work. And this floor was filthy. Dust had settled into every groove and pattern. It probably hadn't been cleaned in centuries. His professional instincts kicked in. Someone had to clean it, and he was already here. Tom filled his mop bucket with his special cleaning solution, nothing fancy, just the industrial stuff that worked on most surfaces without damaging them. He'd learned to be careful with alien materials. Some of them reacted badly to Earth chemicals. But this looked like stone. Stone he could handle. He started in the corner, working his way across the floor in steady, overlapping strokes. The mop picked up decades, maybe centuries, of accumulated grime. As he cleaned each section, the patterns became clearer, sharper. They were actually kind of beautiful once you could see them properly. About halfway through, Tom noticed the symbols were glowing brighter. Not a lot, just enough to be noticeable. Probably motion sensors or something. These old places always had weird tech embedded in them. He kept working. The glow spread as he cleaned, following his mop across the floor. Tom found it oddly satisfying, like he was lighting up the room just by doing his job right. He hummed a little tune, some old song his dad used to play, and focused on getting into the corners where the dust was thickest. 40 minutes later, he stepped back to admire his work. The entire floor gleamed. Every symbol, every pattern, every geometric shape was clearly visible now, glowing with soft blue-white light. Tom nodded with satisfaction. That was a job well done. Then the symbols started moving. Tom froze, mop in hand. The patterns weren't just glowing anymore, they were flowing, rearranging themselves like liquid light, forming new shapes, new configurations. The glow intensified, getting brighter and brighter until Tom had to shield his eyes. "Oh, this is bad," he whispered. "This is really bad." A pulse erupted from the floor. Tom felt it pass through him, a wave of energy that didn't hurt, didn't even feel like much of anything, just a strange tingling sensation. But he watched it race outward, through the walls, through the station itself, disappearing into space like a ripple spreading across a pond. The floor went dark. The symbols stopped moving. Everything was still again. Tom stood there, mop dripping soapy water onto the clean floor, his heart pounding. His earpiece crackled. Then alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red emergency lights flickered on. His supervisor's panicked voice cut through, "All personnel, code black. Station-wide emergency. Everyone to designated safe zones immediately." Before Tom could move, the temple doors burst open. Station security rushed in, weapons drawn, surrounding him instantly. The lead officer, a serious-looking woman with captain's bars, stared at Tom like he'd just murdered someone. "Don't move. Keep your hands where we can see them." Tom dropped the mop. It clattered on the beautiful, clean floor. "I was just cleaning," he said weakly. "I was just doing my job." That's when the reports started coming in from across the galaxy. Ancient warships, dead for thousands of years, were powering on. Weapon systems charging. Engines igniting. 6,000 of them, all activating at once. And somehow, it was all because Tom Harris had mopped a floor. They locked Tom in a holding cell for 6 hours. Nobody would tell him anything. He sat on the metal bench, still wearing his janitor's uniform with the station logo on it, wondering how cleaning a floor had turned into whatever this was. Through the small window in the door, he could see security officers running back and forth, all of them looking scared. Finally, the door opened. The captain from before walked in, followed by 3 aliens Tom had never seen before. One looked like a mantis the size of a human. Another had blue skin and too many arms. The third was covered in fur and had eyes that glowed orange. "Mr. Harris," the captain said, sitting across from him. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Tom shook his head. "I mopped a floor. That's literally all I did." The mantis alien clicked its mandibles. Through Tom's translator earpiece, it said, "You activated the Armada of Final Judgment. 6,000 Valeran warships, dormant for 15 millennia, are now operational across every sector of known space." Tom blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" The blue-skinned alien pulled up a holographic display. Tom watched as red dots appeared across a star map, hundreds of them, thousands of them, scattered throughout the galaxy. Each dot represented a warship. Ancient, powerful, and now awake. "These vessels," the alien explained, "are capable of destroying planets. They were built by the Valerans before they went extinct. We thought they were dead, deactivated permanently. But something triggered them all at once." The alien looked directly at Tom. "That something was you." "I just mopped," Tom said again, feeling like an idiot for repeating himself but not knowing what else to say. The furry alien leaned forward. "When you cleaned that floor, you activated a transmission array. The energy passed through your body, was encoded with some kind of biological signature, then broadcast across the galaxy. Every dormant Valoran ship received it. Every single one responded." They showed him more footage. Massive vessels, bigger than anything humanity had ever built, rising from dead planets. Ships that had been buried under ice for thousands of years breaking free. Ancient hulks in asteroid fields suddenly blazing with light and power. Their weapon systems were charging. Their shields were activating. Their engines were warming up. "Are they attacking anyone?" Tom asked, afraid of the answer. "That's the strange part," the captain said. "They're not. They're just waiting. Forming defensive positions around key systems. Scanning everything but not firing." Over the next 12 hours, more council investigators arrived. They ran tests on Tom. Blood samples, genetic scans, brain imaging, everything. They brought in xenobiologists, archaeologists, military analysts. Everyone wanted to understand what had happened. A researcher named Dr. Kelly Brooks was the one who figured it out. She burst into the interrogation room where Tom had been answering the same questions for the 10th time, waving her datapad excitedly. "It's the DNA," she said. "It's in his DNA." Everyone stared at her. She pulled up genetic sequences on the holographic display, 2 strands side by side. "This is Tom's genetic code. This is what we recovered from Valoran archaeological sites. Look at these markers here, and here, and here. They match. Not perfectly, but enough." The mantis alien stood up so fast its chair scraped the floor. "That's impossible. Humans evolved on Earth. The Valerans went extinct 15,000 years ago on the other side of the galaxy." "I know it sounds crazy," Dr. Brooks said. "But the evidence is right there. Humans carry fragmented Valoran genetic markers. Not enough to make us Valerans, but enough that ancient Valoran technology recognizes us as related somehow." They tested other humans on the station. Every single one showed the same markers. Then they checked archived genetic databases from Earth, from human colonies, from everywhere humans had spread. The results were consistent. All humans carried these fragments of ancient alien DNA. An old archaeologist, a gray-haired man named Professor Grant, pulled up translated Valoran texts that night. Tom was allowed to sit in on the briefing because, as the captain put it, "You're kind of the center of this whole mess." Professor Grant pointed to ancient writing on the display. The Valerans called it the scattering. In their final years, they sent their genetic essence to a distant world beyond the galactic rim. A world with a yellow sun and abundant water. They described its location in their star charts. He overlaid the charts with modern maps. Earth's solar system lined up perfectly. You're saying humans are descended from ancient aliens? Tom asked. Partially, the professor said. Somehow, 15,000 years ago, the Valerans seeded Earth with their genetic material. Maybe they mixed it with early human ancestors. Maybe they engineered it into our DNA. We don't know how, but the evidence is clear. Humans are the genetic heirs of the Valeran civilization. That's when the first incident happened. A pirate fleet, not understanding what they were dealing with, attacked a human freighter convoy near the outer rim. The freighter sent out distress calls. Before any modern ships could respond, 3 Valeran warships appeared out of nowhere. The security footage showed what happened next. The pirate ships opened fire. The Valeran vessels didn't even bother with shields. The weapons fire just bounced off their hulls. Then the warships fired back. 1 shot each. 3 pirate vessels simply ceased to exist, turned into expanding clouds of atoms. The message was clear. The Armada wasn't waiting randomly. It was protecting humanity. Every human ship, every human colony, every human space station now had ancient guardian angels watching over them. Tom watched the footage and felt sick. They're protecting us because they think we're Valerans. Because you AIE Valerans, the Mantis alien said quietly. At least, partially. To their systems, humans are the descendants of their creators. And those ships were programmed to protect their creators above all else. The captain looked at Tom with something like fear in her eyes. Do you understand what this means? Humanity just became the most protected species in the galaxy. And potentially the most dangerous. Those ships might be listening to you. Tom thought about his mop and bucket, still sitting in that temple. I really should have just called my supervisor, he muttered. 3 days after Tom mopped the floor that changed everything, the deep space sensors started going crazy. Tom wasn't supposed to know about it, he was still technically under station arrest, but Dr. Brooks had taken a liking to him and kept him updated. She said he deserved to know what was happening since he'd started it all. There's something at the edge of the galaxy, she told him quietly one evening, showing him data on her datapad. The sensors are picking up readings that shouldn't be possible. Dark matter fluctuations, gravity waves, reality distortions. It's like space itself is tearing open. Tom looked at the readings. He didn't understand most of them, but he recognized fear when he saw it in someone's eyes. That's bad, isn't it? That's very bad. The council called an emergency session. Every major species sent their top military commanders and scientists to Zenith 7. Tom watched through the window of his holding cell as ships arrived by the dozens. The station had never been this crowded. Professor Grant came to see him that night. The old archaeologist looked like he hadn't slept in days. I've been translating more Valeran texts, he said, spreading out his datapad on the table between them. There's a word that keeps appearing in their final records. We didn't have context for it before, but now. He trailed off, staring at the ancient symbols. What word? Tom asked. Devourers. Professor Grant's hands shook slightly as he zoomed in on a section of text. The Valerans didn't just disappear, Mr. Harris. They fought something. A war that lasted 300 years and cost them everything. An enemy they called the Devourers, a synthetic intelligence from beyond the galactic rim. Not biological, not natural. Something that consumes entire civilizations for raw materials and energy. Tom felt cold. And they won? Barely. The Valerans drove them back at tremendous cost. Their entire civilization collapsed from the effort. But before they died out, they built the Armada as insurance. A fail-safe program to activate if the Devourers ever returned. Professor Grant looked up at Tom. The Armada wasn't meant to wake for Valerans. They knew they'd be extinct by then. It was meant to wake for their genetic descendants. For humans, Tom said softly. For humans. 2 days later, the tears in space opened wide enough for something to come through. The first Devourer ship appeared near a mining colony in Sector 9. It didn't look like any ship Tom had seen in pictures. It was angular, wrong somehow, like it existed in too many dimensions at once. Looking at footage of it made his eyes hurt. The colony's defense fleet engaged it. 6 modern destroyers, brand new, with the latest weapons and shields. The Devourer ship didn't even slow down. It fired some kind of beam that didn't just destroy the destroyers, it unmade them, breaking them down into their component atoms, consuming them for fuel. Then it headed for the colony itself. A Valeran warship appeared between the Devourer and the mining colony. Just one, but it was enough. The two vessels exchanged fire. The Valeran ship's shields held. Its weapons damaged the Devourer, forcing it to retreat back through the tear in space. But the scans showed dozens more tiers opening. Hundreds of Devourer ships were coming through. That's when Tom's holding cell door opened and Captain Williams stood there with an expression Tom couldn't read. "You need to come with me. Now." "What's happening?" "The Valeran flagship is requesting you. Specifically you. By name." They rushed him through the station to a docking bay Tom didn't even know existed. Standing in the middle of the bay was a pillar of blue light, humming with energy. Tom had seen teleportation beams before, but nothing like this. "It's from the flagship," the captain said. "The ship is called Eternal Vigil. It's been sending this beam for the last hour, waiting for us to bring you." "And if I don't go?" "Then we're probably all dead within a week." Tom took a deep breath and stepped into the light. Reality twisted. For a moment he felt like he was everywhere and nowhere at once. Then he was standing on a bridge that was bigger than his entire apartment building back on Earth. The walls were alive with flowing patterns similar to the ones he'd mopped in the temple. Holographic displays showed the entire galaxy, with red dots marking Devourer incursions and blue dots showing Valeran warship positions. And in the center of it all was a sphere of light that pulsed like a heartbeat. A voice spoke, ancient and vast, coming from everywhere at once. "Genetic heir recognized. Identity confirmed. You carry the essence of the builders." Tom's translator struggled with the language, but he understood enough. "Are you the ship's computer?" "I am Eternal Vigil. I am the mind of this vessel and the coordinator of the Armada. I have waited 15,000 years for the return of the builders' descendants." The light pulsed. "The Devourers have returned, as the builders predicted. The Armada stands ready to engage them. But we cannot proceed to full combat authorization without genetic confirmation from a builder descendant." "I'm not a builder," Tom said. "I'm just a janitor." "You carry their genetic markers. That is sufficient. The builders designed us this way intentionally. They wanted their heirs to choose whether to fight, not to be bound by ancient programming." The sphere of light dimmed slightly. "We are currently operating at 30% combat capacity. The Devourers grow stronger with each system they consume. If we do not engage them at full power soon, they will overwhelm the galaxy's defenses within 3 weeks." Tom looked at the displays showing Devourer ships tearing through modern fleets like they were made of paper. He thought about the mining colony that had almost been destroyed. He thought about Earth, about all the human colonies spreading across space, about the trillions of aliens living their lives throughout the galaxy. "What happens if I authorize full power?" he asked. "The Armada will engage the Devourers with all available force. We will protect this galaxy as the builders intended. But the decision must be yours. That is the final command the builders gave us. Their heirs must choose their own path." Tom Harris, who'd spent 20 years pushing a mop and taking pride in doing a simple job well, was being asked to unleash a weapon system powerful enough to crack planets. He really should have called his supervisor. Tom stood on that ancient bridge, surrounded by technology he couldn't begin to understand, and did something the AI probably didn't expect. He asked for time to think. "I need to talk to someone first," he said to the glowing sphere. "Can you contact the council? Get me a video link?" Eternal Vigil paused. For a long moment, Tom wondered if an AI that had waited 15,000 years would understand the concept of hesitation. Then a holographic screen appeared in front of him. Captain Williams' face materialized, along with several council members Tom recognized from the briefings. Behind them, he could see Dr. Brooks and Professor Grant. "Mr. Harris," one of the council members began, a tall alien with silver skin. "The situation is deteriorating rapidly. 6 more colonies have been attacked. We've lost 14 ships in the last 2 hours. We need you too." "I know what you need," Tom interrupted. He wasn't usually the type to cut people off, but this was too important. "But I've got a question first. If I give this AI full authorization, what's to stop humanity from becoming the biggest threat in the galaxy? These ships listen to me. To humans. What happens after the Devourers are gone?" The council chamber went quiet. Tom could see them looking at each other, probably wondering why the janitor was asking philosophical questions during a crisis. Dr. Brooks stepped forward. "Tom, that's actually a really good point. The Valerans left these ships to their heirs," Tom continued. "But they also left us a choice. Maybe that choice isn't just about whether to fight. Maybe it's about how we fight. Who we fight for. Professor Grant was nodding now, understanding dawning on his face. The Valerans could have programmed absolute obedience. They could have made the Armada follow human commands without question. But they didn't. They required genetic authorization but left the actual decision-making to their descendants. Tom turned back to the glowing sphere. Eternal Vigil, can you modify your authorization protocols? Clarify your request. I want to authorize the Armada to full combat power. But I want to add a condition. The Armada will operate under Joint Council military command. Humans get one vote, same as every other major species. We work together, or we don't work at all. The council chamber erupted. Some members shouted in agreement, others in protest. The silver-skinned alien raised its hands for silence. Mr. Harris, you're offering to share control of the most powerful military force in galactic history. I'm not offering anything, Tom said. I'm making it a condition. Either the Armada fights for everyone, or it doesn't fight at all. I won't let humanity become tyrants just because we got lucky with our DNA. Eternal Vigil's light pulsed, faster now, like it was processing something complicated. 10 seconds passed. Then 20. Tom had no idea if that was a long time for an AI. Finally, the voice spoke again. The modification is acceptable. The builder's final directive was clear, their heirs must choose their own path. Your choice reflects the Valeran ideal of guardianship over dominance. Full combat authorization accepted under modified protocols. Engaging Devourer forces at maximum capacity. The bridge around Tom came alive. Holographic displays multiplied, showing hundreds of Valeran warships moving into attack formations. The council members on the screen were already coordinating with their military commanders, setting up the joint command structure Tom had demanded. The battle started within minutes. Tom watched from Eternal Vigil as the Armada engaged Devourer ships across 12 different star systems. Modern council vessels fought alongside ancient Valeran dreadnoughts. The coordination wasn't perfect, it couldn't be, not with so many species trying to work together for the first time. But they made it work. The footage was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Valeran weapons fired beams of pure energy that could cut through Devourer hulls. Council ships used their superior speed and numbers to flank the enemy. When a human frigate got caught in Devourer crossfire, 2 Valeran destroyers and an alien cruiser moved to protect it. When a Valeran battleship's shields failed, a squadron of modern fighters provided cover while it regenerated. But the Devourers weren't easy to beat. They adapted, evolved their tactics in real time. They'd had 15,000 years to improve their technology, and it showed. For every Devourer ship destroyed, the galaxy lost ships too. Tom watched good people die, humans and aliens both, defending systems they'd never even visited. The battle lasted 3 days. 3 days of constant fighting, of desperate tactics, of sacrifices Tom knew he'd remember for the rest of his life. Dr. Brooks sent him casualty reports every 6 hours. The numbers climbed into the thousands. On the 3rd day, the Devourers retreated. Not destroyed, but driven back through the tears in space they'd come from. The tears sealed behind them. The galaxy went quiet. Tom stood on that bridge, exhausted, watching the aftermath on 100 displays. Debris fields where ships used to be. Damaged stations. Colonies that had barely survived. But they had survived. The galaxy was still here. Captain Williams contacted him. Mr. Harris, the Council has been discussing your condition. The Joint Command structure. They want to make it permanent. Good, Tom said simply. There's more. They're offering you a position. Ambassador for Human Armada Relations. You'd coordinate between the Council and the Valeran fleet, make sure the power stays balanced. Tom thought about it for maybe 5 seconds. Will I still get to keep my janitorial job? The captain blinked. I'm sorry, what? Someone needs to clean Eternal Vigil. And the temple where this all started. I figure I've already got the security clearance, and I know the Valeran systems respond well to me being around. Seems practical. Professor Grant, who was also on the call, actually laughed. You want to be an ambassador and a janitor? I want to be a janitor who sometimes advises an AI on strategy, Tom corrected. There's a difference. 2 weeks after the battle ended, Tom was back on Zenith 7, pushing his cleaning cart down the familiar corridors. The cart still squeaked. Maintenance still hadn't fixed it. Some things never changed. But a lot of things had changed. The Council had set up a permanent joint military command center on the station. Representatives from 15 different species worked there around the clock, coordinating with the Valeran Armada. The warships hadn't gone back to sleep. They stayed active, patrolling the galaxy, ready in case the Devourers returned. And everyone knew they would return. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 100. But they'd be back. Tom had an office now, right next to the command center. He almost never used it. The desk stayed empty except for a framed photo of Earth his sister had sent him. He preferred to keep working his regular shifts, cleaning the embassy quarters, mopping floors, emptying trash bins. The work was honest and simple, and after everything that had happened, simple felt good. But twice a week, he took a shuttle up to Eternal Vigil. The flagship orbited nearby, a constant presence in Zenith 7 space. Tom would spend a few hours cleaning the bridge, the corridors, the observation decks. The AI seemed to appreciate it, though Tom wasn't sure if ancient warship AIs could actually appreciate anything. The organic matter and dust accumulation has decreased by 12% since you began regular maintenance, Eternal Vigil said one day while Tom was mopping. That's my job, Tom replied, working his way around a holographic display. Keep things clean, keep them running smooth. The builders valued such diligence. They believed that attention to small details reflected strength of character. Tom paused, leaning on his mop. Is that why they programmed you to only listen to their descendants? They figured if we inherited anything from them, it'd be that kind of thinking. Partially. They also believed their heirs would be far enough removed from ancient conflicts to make uncorrupted decisions. You proved them correct. The AI had been talking more lately, asking Tom questions about human culture, human history, human philosophy. It was learning, adapting, trying to understand the species it now served alongside. The galaxy was learning too. Humanity's status had shifted dramatically. They weren't the newcomers anymore, the species that had showed up late to galactic civilization with primitive ships and basic technology. Now they were the heirs of the Valerans, keepers of the most powerful military force in known space. Some humans liked the attention. Tom had seen news reports of human diplomats strutting around like they owned the galaxy. It made him uncomfortable. That wasn't what the Valerans had intended, and it wasn't what he'd fought for. But most humans seemed to understand. Dr. Brooks told him about a human captain who'd refused special docking privileges at a trade station, saying everyone should follow the same rules. Professor Grant showed him footage of human students working with alien archaeologists to translate more Valoran texts. The goal was to learn, not to dominate. Captain Williams stopped by one evening while Tom was cleaning the diplomatic offices. She watched him work for a moment, then said, "The Council's been getting reports. Pirates have practically disappeared from systems with human presence. Trade routes are safer. Colony raids have dropped by 80%. Tom squeezed out his mop. The Armada's doing its job. It's more than that. Other species are following the example. When they see humans working alongside everyone else instead of using their inherited power to boss people around, it changes things. You change things." "I mopped a floor," Tom said, smiling slightly. "Let's not make it more dramatic than it was." "You mopped a floor, woke up an ancient fleet, and then refused to let it make you a king. That's pretty dramatic." 2 months after the battle, the council held a formal ceremony. They offered Tom medals, honors, a fancy title that took 30 seconds to say in standard galactic. He accepted them politely, posed for the photos, shook hands, and appendages, with important people. Then he went back to his quarters, changed into his work uniform, and finished his shift. His mother called him from Earth that night. She'd seen the ceremony broadcast across the human networks. "My son, the hero," she said, tears in her eyes. "I'm not a hero, Mom. I just did what felt right." "That's what makes you a hero, Tommy." The next morning, Tom was scheduled to clean the Valoran temple. He stood at the entrance with his cart, looking at the access code on his datapad. This time, his supervisor had given him the right code for the public gallery. Just routine maintenance. Tom thought about using it. Then he thought about that inner chamber with its beautiful, clean floor. Nobody had assigned him to clean it again. But he had the security clearance now. And it probably needed dusting. He punched in the code for the inner sanctum. The door opened. Tom pushed his cart inside, wheels squeaking as always. The floor still gleamed from his last cleaning, the symbols dark and peaceful now. He filled his bucket, prepared his mop, and got to work. Not because he had to. Not because ancient warships were watching or because the galaxy expected anything from him. But because someone needed to maintain this place, and maintenance was what he did best. The floor started glowing again as he cleaned. Tom didn't panic this time. He understood it now. The temple was responding to his presence, acknowledging the connection between the Valerans and their human descendants. He finished mopping, stepped back, and nodded with satisfaction. A job well done. Just like always. Eternal Vigil's voice came through his earpiece. You have returned to the activation site. Someone's got to keep it clean, Tom said. Besides, this is where it all started. Seems right to take care of it. The builders would approve. Tom packed up his equipment and headed back to his regular route. Tomorrow he had the observation deck to clean, then a meeting with council military advisors, then the maintenance bay on C deck that always needed extra attention. Just another day at work. Except now, the work included saving the galaxy. But Tom was okay with that. Because at the end of the day, whether you were mopping floors or coordinating ancient warships, the principle was the same. Do the job right, treat people fairly, and never forget that power is meant to serve, not to rule. The galaxy had learned that lesson from a janitor. And somehow, that felt exactly right.